I've got 1 week to finish this remodel. In just a few days, the furniture's arriving and the appliances have nowhere to go. I guess this is one of the things that stresses you out in the Philippines as an expat, is that the timeline can get stretched out and things just don't get done when you expect them to be done. Let me show you around. You'll see what I mean, but I'm going to be traveling for a while. I need to have this done. I've got a week. And let me show you where we are. So as you can see, there's some cabinets that are in process, and there's a lot of cabinets that have been placed on the floor but have not been installed yet. And we've only have got a few days before I'm going to leave. So that's why I'm anxious as to whether this is going to get done. There's quite a bit of work to be done. This wall is going to have the 75-inch mini LED TCL screen TV. And then here they're working in the kitchen, and they are getting some of these cabinets together for sure. But there's still a lot of work to be done. So they've got to install all the final cabinets, hook up the plumbing for the sink. This is where the sink would go. You can see the cutlery tray, and there, see there's the plumbing underneath. So they've cut a hole in the cabinet for it, but they need to connect it to the sink and get all that together. And then they need to put the granite countertops. It'll be a black granite called Galaxy Granite that'll go across the top, and then put in the appliances. So quite a bit of work to do, and we'll see where we end up. And you can also see we're replacing some of the tiles. I'll talk about that more later, but the tiles need to be replaced. If you knock on them and it's a hollow sound, that means it didn't seal correctly. All right, let's go back outside. I guess the guys are on lunch break. It's now a little after 12, but I wish things were moving on much faster than they are. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do if they're not finished by the time I have to leave in a week, because I won't be back for a while. So here's the guys working on the door frame, and it's proving to be quite a challenge. And the main reason is that when they put in that door frame, they crisscross nails into the concrete to give the concrete something to grab onto in the cement. So they're having to not just cut through the concrete to get that door frame out, to flip it around, but they're having to cut through the nail. So it's proving to be quite a challenge and quite an amount of work. And they're really beating up the place, which is making me unhappy. Well, what you're going to see in just a minute is going to be a bit ugly, but it's something that had to be done. I'm not sure that this is the best way to have it done, because it doesn't look very good right now, and I would have preferred a different method. But the outside door from the kitchen going to the outside of the house needed to be flipped around, literally taken off its hinges, the door frame removed, and then put on the outside so the kitchen door will open going to the outside instead of the inside, and that way we can put in a kitchen island and it creates a lot of space. So the workers worked on this, 3 of them, for hours yesterday, probably 3-4 hours, and it was a struggle, really hard to get out. So let's take a look. Like I said, it's not pretty. They beat the tar out of the concrete, and I'm not happy about that. And I told them to use a concrete saw, which they kind of did, but as you can see, it really got beat up in order to take out this entire door frame and flip it, right? So it had to be taken out of the house, turned around, and that's why the locks right now are facing outside. I'm going to have to take that apart and switch it. So I think that'll still work. So this is what the inside of the door looks like at the moment. Here's a better look at the slab concrete wall. And they're going to fill all of this with concrete. So as we take a closer look at this gap now that they've broken out the concrete around the door, it just seemed like such a hard way to do this. And I was encouraging them to use a concrete saw, and they did a little bit, but they went back to this kind of screwdriver and hammer routine just to break out the extra concrete. And I think what they're thinking is that the concrete slabs, when they built the house, kind of stop a couple inches from the door. And so they're trying to break out this extra concrete there between there and the slab. That's why they're so focused kind of in that area. But you can see he's doing it by hand. This is just like a plastic piece of pipe with a big nail through it. And then he takes a hammer and then locks it in order to get the concrete to come loose. But this actually is going to take a full day and a half for these guys to complete it. There's between 2 and 3 guys working on it. But you can see the nails there. You see how the nails crisscross in the hole? And that was because when they did pour in the concrete, they gave the concrete something to grab onto. Now they're putting nails back again so that when the new concrete is put in place there to fill the hole, it has something to grab onto. So that's kind of what their plan is. You can see the other guy starting on the other side now, and he's starting to use the concrete cement mortar to fill in the gaps. But boy, did they beat the tar out of the house to flip this thing around. And as you can see, the door locks are facing the wrong way, so we're going to have to reverse that. And then this did create another issue that we're going to have to deal with, and that is that by reversing the door around, remember we're doing this because we're putting in an island in the kitchen and we need more space. So we're having the door open to the outside instead of the inside. So it seemed like such a brilliant idea. So by reversing the door around and taking the hinges and moving them to the outside of the frame, the door now opens to the outside and we can switch the locks around so we can lock it no problem. The weakness in that thinking, though, is now the hinges are exposed to the outside. So now we have a couple of options. I've either got to hunt down hinges that lock so you can't take out the pin, or I'm thinking that I can do like a latch type lock on the top and bottom on the inside of the door, because even if you take out the pins, if you can't get the door to come loose, it won't come out. So I'm exploring those two options. He's working on the door itself, putting the hinges and flipping them around to make sure they're in the right place. So at this point they have cemented in the door frame after flipping it around. Now they're reversing the door. So they have to put the hinges on the opposite side, which is requiring some sanding on the door to make it work in the frame. And then the locks will have to be reversed. The other project that's going on is we asked them to go ahead and find a way to get the electrical cord to disappear in this installation. So what they decided to do for the water heater was, since this is a concrete wall, to actually just cut out a portion of the wall and then slide in the electrical cord. I don't think that's the only way to do this. I think there's another option. They could have drilled a hole, punched through into the wall, and went up. But this is what they decided to do. So you can see in this footage, the worker is now putting the latches on the opposite side of the door. And so now he's going to attach it to the door frame. So like I just mentioned previously, that's a win to open up the space. So there will be the kitchen island on the inside. The door will open to the outside, but we've got to lock down the hinges somehow and make sure that they can't be compromised. So a lot of work. This guy's the master craftsman here at Royal Palms Quattro, one of the guys that's been around as one of the more advanced craftsmen, and he's been a big help. But it's been a day and a half to get this door done. So now he's trying to get the door to close correctly. He's having to sand down some of the door frame in order to get that to close the way he wants it to close. So that's where he's taking the sander to it right now and making sure that it's smooth. Kind of surprised that they didn't request me to replace the door frame altogether. But when we took out the old one, I was expecting to put in a new one, but these guys thought they could just get it out and reuse it, and that's exactly what they did. But that's a credit to the Filipino ingenuity. It's amazing what they do with so little. So a lot of folks here don't have a lot of money, so they get really creative how they fix things. Anyway, he's sanding it down, trying to get that door to seat better, and then making sure that the door lock will close and latch. And so he's putting all that together at this point. You can see the cement that's been added around the door frame. It's a lot of material there. So hopefully this will all clean up, but once it's all done, they'll sand it up and paint it, and it'll look good as new. But this is the process that they've been going through. So Lynn's doing some final patchwork here today. The cable guy's rough hands that tore up the wall, she's going back and fixing it. Hey, a little secret is after you use the spatula, get your finger wet and then go around it and it'll smooth it out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a little secret. So that you can get that all the way that you want it to go.
But it's not dry yet.
That's why you want to do it now. You just get some water from the sink and then it'll smooth it all out. But you got to do it while it's wet. All right, let's take a look here. Now these guys have got the door hinges flipped around.
AJ, Jason.
Let him, film him. Keep having this conversation. Okay, so we're got the door hinges flipped around. Flipped around the door jamb. Now they're putting the lock to the right place. And they had to re-drill the hole in that because the original one wasn't done correctly. And they're fixing that. And they've patched up all around the door, all the concrete, and then a little wall patch. It's installing the knob. So this door lock was installed upside down. So I've opened it up, taken it apart, and then I'm trying to get it right side up so I can get this bar to it, but because the hole's drilled at the wrong angle instead of straight through like it should be, I can't get it to connect correctly. So we're going to have to take this apart and get this hole bigger right here in the right area. So these things are usually pretty easy, but as you can see, the hole wasn't quite right. So the latch is giving me fits. So I keep taking it apart, putting it back together. I can get it to lock, but then when I try to put the handle back on, this part here, it's not working. I can't get these two holes the holes inside to line up. So he's drilling out on the frame for the door here in order to put in the deadbolt. So he's going to connect the metal latch piece. So he's drilling that out first, and then he'll fit that in. Remember that your security comes from your deadbolt. That Sure, it's great to have a locking knob, but knobs can for the most part be kicked in. They're defeated very easily. So it's the deadbolt, and the deadbolt provides that security because it does go in a couple inches. You want to make sure though that you've put that metal latch inside the door frame so that it's all protected, so you've got metal on metal, and then it's very hard to defeat. So there he goes to put in the latch piece to make sure it all fits. Here's a good look at the kitchen door going to the outside. After the frame has been reversed, the hinges have been reversed, and the door now opens to the outside. And as you can see, we've actually fixed the locks on this now. The locks are in the correct place and they're not upside down anymore. So that's been taken care of. It actually was quite a bit of work to get this to fit and work the way it's supposed to. But all that's been corrected. As we flip the door around, we reverse the hinges to the other side so that the door can open outside instead of inside, creating a whole bunch of space, which we're going to need for the kitchen island that's going to go in next. So we just had another little crazy thing happen in this project that I wasn't expecting. So we have a contractor that we are about to sign the proposal agreements and contract for the outside, which would be the driveway, the wall around the house, the carport, the gazebo, everything that we want to do. And we were walking through the complex 2 nights ago after receiving the proposal, and we came across a neighbor that said that their contractor, who had the same name as our contractor, had walked away from the job, that they were asking for money, and that it was beyond the contract limit. You have to put like 50% down, and they did that, and then the contractor was asking for more money, and the owner said no, and so the contractor pulled his teams, his workers, his crews, and so no work is being done. So the homeowner told us, find another contractor since you guys have the same one. Well, I met with the contractor today just to get his side of the story, and what ended up happening is they both happen to have the same first name, but different last names. It's a different guy, and we thought it was the same one. So here I'm working him on the proposal about, okay, what percentage is paid in progress payments, how much is a down payment, and it turns out he's not the same guy. So thankfully for us, because we really like this guy and had planned to go with him, we're going to be okay. We have a new development at the house, and it's actually not our house, but it's the house behind us. All of a sudden they started putting in a wall, and they were digging right up to our property line. So let's take a look. So this is the house behind us. It's actually the one, just like we're renting, the model. It's called Palacios Grande, where it's 3 bedrooms upstairs, 1 bedroom downstairs, 2 bathrooms. And what they're doing is they're putting in this block wall here. And what I want to show you is this marker. It says kind of ES on top. That is the property line marker, which absolutely cannot be moved. And they literally dug all around it. It just left a little bit of land underneath that, little soil. It was like barely holding on. So they're taking the wall up to there. And I wonder if they've contacted this owner who lives in the States, but has, I think her mom is like the caretaker, keeps an eye on the place. But they'll let them know they're putting a wall right alongside, because this person has expressed interest in sharing on a wall that we want to do here. So we want that, our contractor, to talk to them and see if we can't split the cost of that. But you know, they need to have some input in what the wall looks like. And I bet you they have no idea that they're building this wall alongside their property. This is the footings that they've dug out. I don't know why this one is so tall. I'm assuming that they're going to cut it, because it's like twice the distance almost, not quite, of the other posts that they're going to put through. So yeah, they have a name for this thing. It's column combiner, something like that. Anyway, it's interesting the way that they've done this, but you should have seen them using the jackhammer to get through the limestone. What a headache to dig this, trench for this wall. But you can see the bigger holes that they dig and then put in the concrete for the column, which will be the post, and then they'll carry that all the way across. So I thought you'd find that kind of interesting. A lot of effort to put in a fence through this limestone. You can see the pieces of both concrete, which I'm not sure where that's coming from, but obviously it was there, and then the limestone, which is all the white rocks. Lots of work. So this is a typical concrete block wall that you would find here in the Philippines. And this looks to me like it's only 4-inch block. Your standard would be 6-inch. 6-inch would be wider, a little bit more durable. So someone's trying to save on cost a little bit. I'm sure it'll work fine from a decorative standpoint, but if you want strength, you do 6-inch block instead of this 4-inch block. But this is how you would build a wall in the Philippines, and this is how you typically would build the exterior walls of a house. Would be the same way. There would be hollow blocks, you would put rebar through them, and then you would fill with the cement mortar. So this is where we are right now with a week to go. I've got to leave the country for a little while. I've got things I got to attend to back in the US. So we've got a week to get this finished. I just don't see it happening, but we'll see. And this is what happens when you build in the Philippines, and you have a timeline, and there's a lot of moving parts. You got to get supplies and workers and contractors, and I thought we were all on the same page, but I feel like we're really running behind. Well, we've got a week to go before I leave the country, so we'll see what happens. I'll let you know in the next video.